We want to clean in the paint. We're going to call hand checking and body checking. And sportsmanship is an absolute must, okay?
He lets it fly!
Welcome back to the Two Shots in the Ball podcast. I am your host, Mike McAndrews, along with my brother, Jim McAndrews. Jim, episode 16. It's been a minute since we've recorded an episode.
Yeah.
Things are in full gear with both of us with school and kids' extracurricular activities and sporting events, but it's good to be back.
It is. I was going to say a couple of snafus, but you put it a little better. Yes, we got a little busy there for a minute.
Yeah, so we're excited about today's guest, a guy you and I have known for me, basically my entire adult life. Same for you. A guy we've known for a long time in the world of high school athletics that we're both excited to sit down and talk to.
Can't wait.
This week's guest has spent close to 50 years in Catholic education and high school athletics. He is a graduate of St. Ambrose High School and a college graduate of Detroit Tech, where he was on basketball scholarship. Started his teaching career in 1978, which took him to Centerline St. Clement, where he spent 18 years as head basketball coach, winning over 300 games. In 1995, he left for the associate director position of the Detroit Catholic League. In 2003, he was named director of the Catholic League, a position he still holds today, and he's currently the longest-serving director in the league's 99-year history. He has served on the MHSA Rep Council for more than 2 decades. In May of 2024, he was honored by the Catholic League by being named the 15th legend of the league in its history. In June of that same year, he was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Free Press Detroit High School Sports Awards. We are pleased to have a true legend of high school athletics and longtime friend of the McAndrews family, Vic Michaels, join the podcast. Vic, thanks for joining us.
Vic, those accolades
very
are
happy
so
to be
well
here.
deserved, man.
And Jimmy and I got a special gift for you for the podcast.
Yeah, well, something for you to show. The man, the legend.
Look
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's great.
That was
Look at
not
that.
planned either.
Yeah.
We both dug it out.
Yeah, I said to him when we got on, I go, look what I got on. He goes, me too. I go, oh, we got to surprise him with it right at the beginning. So you have that on us. Neither of us have had our face on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
So Vic, take us through your journey in Catholic League athletics, and you attending Catholic schools, and then being the longest serving director of the league.
Well, as you mentioned, I started off playing. Well, you said St. Ambrose. I started off at St. Philip Neri, and that school closed my sophomore year. I went to St. Ambrose for my junior and senior year. Played basketball and baseball. If I had a podcast, it wouldn't be Two Shots in the Ball. It would be all the shots in the ball. 'Cause I took them all. I had going into my senior year, they had announced the school was closing. So pretty much all the underclassmen left. But I did have a freshman who made the varsity and started. And I said, look, you inbound the ball to me. That's it. He said, what if you're not open? I said, I'll get open.
I'll
Just
be
throw
open.
me the ball. That's kind of how my career went. But I was fortunate enough to earn a college scholarship. Played at Detroit Tech, which is also closed now. They were downtown. Played at the YMCA down there. Played NAIA. It was a lot of fun. Did a little bit of traveling with that, and got a degree. So all was good there.
Well, that kid from that school who just passed you the ball, some kudos for getting you that scholarship.
Yeah, got you a scholarship.
That's right. Oh, that's great.
It's
Every
playing at
now
the
and then
next
I buy him
level.
a drink. Yeah, when I see him, I'll send him a drink his way. And our football team, my senior year, didn't score a point. And this is St. Ambrose. They were the football team in the Catholic League in the 60s. But when I graduated, we didn't score a point. So it was really important. I got the first points of the year. Everybody was fighting over the ball for that. Yeah, that was a while ago.
So your first job out of college, and what got you into education and Catholic school athletics?
So I finished at Detroit Tech and went to the University of Detroit, not Mercy, just University of Detroit at the time, to get my teaching certificate. And while I was doing that, John Vidura was the coach at St. Alphonsus, and he put an ad in the Free Press or News, looking for a JV coach. So I went over there and he hired me, and I coached JV basketball for him for a couple of years. And then I went to Redford St. Mary. And while I finished my student teaching there and coached with John Egby at the home of the Hustle and Rustics for a couple of years, 1 year. And then I was hired at St. Clement, Centerline St. Clement, as a basketball coach and phys ed teacher, social studies, whatever they could fit in my schedule. And I was there for 18 years coaching. I became the AD, assistant principal. You know, he ran the whole gamut when you were in a Catholic school that size. Well, you know that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Admission director. Yeah. You
Yeah.
know how that works.
Sweep
And
the
that
floor.
took me through my coaching days, you know.
So
Then
tell
I
the
kind of
story.
weaned myself off by coaching some CYO when my kids were at St. Joan of Arc in grade school, and that kind of got me out of coaching.
Tell
I
the
thought it was in the
story-
mid '90s when you were coaching against Cardamone when who was
Yeah,
coaching.
when I
you.
got
That
out of that,
probably
yeah,
got
yeah,
out of
that's
coaching,
right.
right? That's
Jim had a point
probably-
guard then that said, "Just pass me the ball too."
Vic saw the writing on the wall. I got
Yeah.
out.
So tell the story. I know the story, but tell the story of how Tom Rashid convinced you or your family to come downtown to the Catholic
Well,
League
when I
office.
was hired at St. Alphonsus, I was the JV coach. Pat Sespatowski, another Catholic League Hall of Famer, was the freshman basketball coach. Tom Rashid was the 8th grade coach, and Mike Fusco was the 5th and 6th grade coach. All great guys, some good basketball minds. And so I knew Tom from when I was still in college. And I was at St. Clement for many years. When he came, I came home one day, and he was sitting at the kitchen table with my wife and said, "Your wife has something she wants to say." You know, Linda said, "I think you should take the job as his assistant." He had asked me 3 or 4 times. I said, no, I wasn't interested. I wanted to stay where I was. I liked what I was doing. I liked the kids at St. Clement. And, but he kind of ganged up on me. You know, he had her on his side, and they both kind of convinced me to be the assistant director, which I did for about 7 years until he became the assistant to the MHSA director, Jack Roberts, and then Cardinal Maida appointed me the director of the Catholic League. So,
And how lucky are we?
Yeah,
how
it's
lucky
awesome.
are we?
yeah, how
Really?
lucky is
Yeah.
everyone. It ended up being
we are.
obviously a
Awesome.
great decision for me professionally. I was worried at the time. My kids, they were kind of you know, they always they hung around the gym. They owned the gym. I knew that wouldn't happen. So that was a big, I didn't want to leave that, but
Yeah.
it ended up working out really well.
Kudos.
Great decision by Linda.
Yes.
Yeah.
And kudos to Tom as well for sticking with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to circle back to the Catholic League itself and basketball. And you've been around, like we talked about, for a little bit here, and you see some of the best players in the state. Who comes to mind? Some of the best players you've seen come out of the league.
You know, I've been lucky
There's a lot.
to be able to coach against or watch some really good basketball talent. When I played, the best player I ever played against was Frank Tanana. He was phenomenal. You know, he ended up being a Major League Baseball pitcher for years, but he was very, very good in basketball when he was at Catholic Central. And then, of course, coaching. I mean, if I had to put together, like, I couldn't narrow it down to 5, I don't think.
Right.
But if I had to put together just my own grade 8 or something like that, top 8 in the rotation, I think of guys like John Garabaglia, who was Mr. Basketball from Aquinas, Alex Anaganye from DePores, a couple state titles there while he played. Big Stempin. I don't know if you guys saw him in high school.
Oh gosh,
He was as good a player as I've ever seen at the high school level. He had a good college career and played overseas, but when he was in high
at Toledo
school,
and then played overseas.
he was unbelievable. That would be kind of my front court, but and Willie Burton. Willie Burton, also from DePores, University of Minnesota, and in the NBA. that would be my front line, if you would. And then in the backcourt, I got to put Cassius on just for his
Yeah.
high school career. I mean, Cassius Winston was as good a high school player, point guard, as you'll find. Miguel Knight, also from DePores, played with Willie Burton, I believe. B.J. Armstrong, and
Yeah, that's your
and
age,
probably
Jim.
Kalen
Yeah.
Lucas.
Yep.
Kalen Lucas was a really good high school and college player.
Yeah.
That would be a pretty good backcourt.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm leaving off some people, but those
Brandon
guys come
Cotton.
to mind.
Brandon Cotton from DePoris.
And even with the talent that I just said, one thing you didn't mention about my career is I coached girls for 5 years. And one of the years, we were 22-2. And our 2 losses, we were number 1 in the state. Our 2 losses were to DePores in the Catholic League final and DePores in the regional final. And Deidre Charles
I was just
was
gonna,
on
yeah.
that team. She was as good a player as any of the guys I mentioned at her level.
Yeah.
Had a phenomenal career at Tennessee.
Yep.
A little bit ahead of the WNBA, or she would have been dominant in that too. Deidre just passed away a year or so ago, but she would have been on the top of my.
I remember watching
my
her in high school
performance.
because Susan played against her when Susan
Yeah.
would have been in high school. Our sister.
She was good.
Dominant.
Yeah.
You have seen some talent sitting
Hold on.
courtside at
Yeah.
Callahan Hall, man.
I know.
Holy
I got the best
cow.
seat. I get the best seat there.
So I have a great story about Greg Stempen that I want to share with you that you'll appreciate this. And this is a little off script. So he's telling me a story. So I've gotten to know Greg as adults. And his brother Ron is married to Rhoda Essler, right?
Yeah.
Greg's daughter. And he told me once that they were at a family function for like Thanksgiving or Christmas. And Greg was chirping at him to grab something. And he looked at Greg and he goes, "You go get it for me. I put up 40 against you in high school."
Yeah, I believe it too, man. That guy was something else. One of the best high school games I saw, and I left off a couple guys from Borges on that list, Jessup and that crew, but Borges was up 30 on Notre Dame in the Catholic League semifinal at halftime. And Stempen went unbelievably crazy in the second half. And they ended up taking the lead. I think he might have had 44 in the second half or something. And they stormed back, took the lead, and they lost it on a half-court shot. But, yeah, phenomenal game.
Yeah. So the league has had a ton of talent up until this year. Mr. Basketball last year came out of the Catholic League and Trey McKinney. So we continue. And I would venture to say, Vic, and you've seen the league longer than I have, the last 5 years, I would guess, in the Central Division, the talent has been superior to every other league in the state.
I believe so. And it was like that in the late 90s when Borges was really good and CC had some Division I talent. But I don't think it was as good as it's been the last couple of years, top to bottom. Some of the
regionally too, not just in Michigan, I believe. I would think it's extends
everybody in
beyond
that
state lines.
Central Division had multiple D1 guys.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead,
Vic, you've expanded the league membership over the last 3+ decades as working in the office of Catholic League Athletics. I know when you took over as director, there were a number of schools. Tom didn't do you any favors by going to the state. There was a number of schools that the Archdiocese had closed right at the time you had taken over. But you've expanded the league recently with the addition of the Toledo Catholic schools and Jackson, Lewin, Christie. How does the addition of those teams impact the league and the balance of competition in the league?
Well, you're right about the school closures were devastating, right? It was like 04, maybe 05. We lost almost every school in the city or bordering the city. And it hurt, it hurt our level of competition, not only at the top, but at the bottom as well. And we've always been a league that kind of prides ourselves on being able to let schools play to their competitive level. I always use like Sacred Heart as an example. They can play in our top golf or field hockey league. They play with our best schools. And then they also can play with our worst volleyball schools. And we can give them a schedule for both, And we were always able to do that. And it got really hard last few years before we had the addition of the Toledo schools in Jackson, Lumen Christi. We weren't top heavy at all. And we were trying to fill schedules and have schools that weren't competitive play up to help us fill those schedules. And now we don't have to do that. The 5 Toledo schools we have, they're firmly in our Central Division in almost every sport. Yet we're still able to help a few of their sports that aren't as good compete at levels a little lower than the Central that are competitive for them. And Lumen Christi, the same way. They're dominant in football, cross country. But there's some sports where Lumen's not very good either. And we're able to put them in both our best divisions and our not so good divisions. And it's really helped us balance our scheduling.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the beautiful things of the Catholic League, having been a lifer ourselves, Jim and I, is the competitiveness from top to bottom, that the league's able to have the autonomy to put schools where they need to be from a competitive balance standpoint. I think it's the best league in the state, if not the country, top to bottom in terms of.
Don't forget, once we did that, made that announcement, the next thing the Big Ten's bringing in schools from California.
There you go.
They figured, hey, the Catholic League can do this.
Do it.
Why can't we? That's right.
Yeah, no kidding. And there's going to have Izzo sitting at your kitchen table next time trying to get you to go to the Big Ten office. That's the next move. So the Catholic League has had some of the best coaches in the state, in the history of high school athletics in the state, if not the country, in both the boys and girls sports. People like Al Fracassa, Diane Laffey, Tom Mock, George Porritt, Mary Cicerone, the late Dave Souls, and the list goes on and on and on. The one characteristic, Vic, that all of them have is they spent their adult years and their careers at one Catholic institution or multiple institutions within the Catholic League. Why do you think so many of those legendary guys spent their careers involved with Catholic League athletics?
I think, a great deal of their success comes from the fact that all of them were very loyal to their faith, right? They knew what they wanted. They knew where they wanted to be, and they stayed there. You look at a number of other coaches in different leagues, they bounce around to the best job available. Who's got the best talent coming up? They get into disagreements with parents and they run and go to another school. And, our legends in coaching have been at those places for many years. They get into a habit of running a good program. The kids know what to expect. The administrators know what to expect, and vice versa. And they're all X and O wise. It's hundreds of coaches that are great X and O coaches. But in order to have a program sustain the success that those coaches did, you need to be there and develop those kids year after year after year. And we were fortunate to be able to have quite a few of them that just were dedicated to their school, their faith, the kids that they had, the kids they had coming up, and it pays off. You look at schools that struggle now, especially in football, schools that haven't been to the Prep Bowl, or schools that haven't been over 500 or made the state tournament, and you look at their coaching history, and they probably had 4 or 5 coaches in the last 7 or 8 years. It just goes hand in hand. The more consistent you are at the coaching level, the head coaching level, the more consistent your teams will win, I believe.
Yeah, I believe it. You made me smile, Mike. Sorry, you made me smile because I'm thinking of Souls and those keys.
Yeah,
I can still hear him when I was coaching against him. It intimidated me. change
his keys. I stole his keys.
That's why
I made my own. I made my own key to the locker room, so I didn't have to wait for somebody to let me in over there. the little padlock on his locker room.
Yeah.
So, and I bought Souls and East Catholic uh, a possession arrow, one of the first ones that came out, because he had a Converse tennis shoe for years. They just turned the shoe which way the shoe was pointing. That's whose ball it was. And Dave was a character.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Awesome.
Good guy.
Yeah. And one of the things I think, Vic, is I look at all those names, a lot of them, like myself and yourself and Jim, are products of the league as young adults and played in the league
Yeah.
as high school kids. And I know
Yeah,
it's
almost
important.
all of them were. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important for a lot of us that the impact the league had to come back and work in Catholic schools.
Yeah. Let's if I could switch a little bit and talk about the officiating side of the basketball game in particular. And I'm not really familiar with the football and the other sports about the shortages, but what's your take on why we have such a shortage in the state? I don't think we have it with the Catholic League. A lot of guys that I know want to ref, the Catholic League. I call it my league, our league, but you're at the state level. What's your perspective coming from your state role?
Well,
Why you think there's such a shortage? And what do we do to increase it?
Well, I think the biggest thing we did is 2 years ago, we bumped pay, right? We were paying roughly $70 for a varsity event, and now we're paying $115. So officials saw a huge increase in what they were getting to work in a varsity contest, and a JV contest went up substantially also. That has increased our officials. Statewide, we're up over 200 total this year from last year. Over 70 more basketball officials are registered. And part of what is, I don't know if it's helped or hurt, our younger level officials, a lot of guys are working double headers now, right? Because when we were short officials, very short, 3 or 4 years ago, freshman JV just became a thing. You work freshman and JV basketball games. You work the double header. And now that didn't really go away. So you get a lot of guys who would rather work a freshman JV double header and make $180 because they get $90 for basketball JV than they would a varsity game at $115.
Yep.
For
be
an
home.
hour or two more, and be home by 7:30. But I think a lot of the official numbers have to do with the economy. When the economy is really bad and people are struggling, unemployment rates are high, officiating numbers go up. Obviously, the quality doesn't go up, but more guys want to get into it, make some money. And when the economy started to get a little better, they start to drop off. But we're in good shape, I think. I mean, we can always use more officials. We can always use better officials.
Yeah,
you
we
look
can.
at the average age of our officials is a little bit higher than we would like. It's tough to keep the young officials when you look at the behavior in the stands. I mean, I can't tell you how many phone calls I've got that people have said. It started off with people saying, I can't believe you say the Our Father before the game. And then your fans act like they did to that official, or it's just,
my wife
something we
won't
work
come to
on
a
all-
game because of that. I thought we
Yeah.
just prayed and that ball goes up and all of a
I know,
sudden they're
I
using
know.
these
What are we
curse
doing
words at you. I know what you do.
We're doing something wrong, and we're just trying. We just keep working on that, the attitude and the atmosphere in our gyms toward officials. I mean, selfishly, when I used to coach, I would save a parking spot for the officials, let them know I saved it for them, and always fed them and took care of them. But that was really because, you hope to get a couple
You wanted
calls.
a call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. But
That was when
now,
you would get. That's why him and Peltzer and Conway and Dempsey and all those guys are now all golf partners over at Downey because of that parking spot.
Parking.
that's right. That's right.
The little things don't take much for us, Russ. Don't take much. It's
much.
just the little things,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Make you feel welcome. Yep.
So Jim and I I'm at one of Jim's son's football game, and the guy that's working the flag football game I've had a few times as a basketball ref. He comes over to me, oh man, the Andrews, blah blah blah. He's like, man, I can't figure out why Evo doesn't send me out there anymore. And he walked away, and I leaned over to Jim. And I go, I know exactly why. Because if I called Evo and said, if this guy ever shows up in my gym again,
Yeah, yeah.
but Jim's right. Like the league still is, from an official standpoint, like the league to be working. And I think that
Everybody
goes
wants
back
to work
to,
it. Yeah.
I think it goes back to what Vic talked about earlier, the coaches in our league and the players in our league, right?
Yep.
Like we have the best product of any league
Yeah,
in the
we
state.
still got to work on appearance, but yeah,
For sure.
we're getting there. We're getting
Yeah.
For sure. So you've been a member of the MHSA Rep Council for a long time. BCAM sent a proposal to the MHSA a year or so ago about seeding the basketball tournament, both boys and girls, through the regional rounds. I know that proposal was eventually denied by its member schools. What was the reasoning for that, and do you think that the seeding past the district will happen at some point?
I really don't, and it's not that I'm opposed to it, but when you, the funny thing about the basketball about BCAM is on the rep council, I think BCAM has the most respect of any coaches association there is. They really do respect what BCAM says because of the guys that have run it and the work they do together. And the last two proposals came from them were the shot clock and the 5 divisions, or the adding a division or two in not only their sport but others. So the MHSA did a lot of research into the shot clock. And you put aside the cost factor because you know it's going to cost, right? Every school's got to not only get them installed, but they got to pay somebody to run them during the game.
Correct.
So it's an added expense to the table, which never sits well across the state with superintendents and those that pay the bills. But they did a pretty extensive study using all of their semifinal and final contests for the last 3 or 4 years. I don't remember which it was. And it's just not needed. Looking at those numbers, the average possession was like 12 seconds. Not like 8 seconds one way and 30 the other. I mean,
Yeah.
that was an average possession. And it's like, who's holding the ball these days? You watch college, you certainly watch the pros, you don't see it. You watch college, you don't see it. It's more run and shoot than anything, than ever. Dean Smith 4-corner type things. Who does that? Nobody does it. And it just seemed like a wasted expense for something that just wouldn't be used. It was an added duty for somebody on the table, an added duty for the officials.
It would, if it were to happen, I would just get your thought. It would have to be an official, right? You can't. We have enough issues controlling the clock with parents running it,
With
right?
a volunteer.
And
Yeah.
volunteer.
That
It's got
was
to
the
be
other
an
part of the
official.
discussion. So if it's an official, if it's just your clock operator, give another guy like that up there, what would pay him $20, that's one thing. But if we felt it would eventually have to be an official.
Yeah.
Now you're paying another game fee, which just went up across the state to about $1.15 varsity and 90 for JV for sub varsity. So you're looking at a $200 or $300 expense per night. And, for something that statistics don't show that we need. I'm sure there are cases where we would need a shot clock, but we just haven't seen a lot.
So I think in talking to some of the guys for BCAM, the argument for them, Vic, is that the sample size that the MHSA took was the best of the best teams in the state.
Yeah.
So
They did. And there was really no other way to do it.
Right.
Without burdening some leagues or conferences to try to experiment with it.
Yeah. And I would agree with you that, the last 10 to 15 years, the way the game's played and the way Steph Curry has impacted the game and the way kids want
Oh,
to play and coaches want to
tremendous.
coach. Game's much faster, than when you two guys were coaching.
No kidding. I mean, the first time
I got to run it. I know.
Yeah.
when Steph Curry started this little run of his, it was like, what is he doing? Right? I mean, this is 90% of the coaches. What he's pulling up from there on
Yeah.
that on a 3-on-1, and now that's just common. It's just
Yeah.
common. You expect it, not just from him, but from everybody. He really did revolutionize how the game's.
So back to the point of the seating, do you think that it'll ever, because I know they have the NPR now, and if they have those, or at the very least, um, reseed at the regional rather than an automatic where you
Yeah,
go,
this
right? Like
yeah,
use
the
the
seating
NPR
thing
for the,
the seating thing would work great in our area.
yeah,
It would work great in the metropolitan areas. It was the outstate areas that weren't really in favor of it because of travel. Uh,
Yeah, true.
you were taking in some of those regionals, it's predetermined who's playing and who's hosting the first game and the second game. Like they don't all go to one site and play like we do
they
here,
don't.
the regionals. No, like
So
it's
like in the
predetermined.
UP, for instance,
It's predetermined that District 4 winner and District 5 winner will play at Gaylord High School on whatever the date is, or will play
gotcha.
at a UP site. Um, and when you just start seeding them, that travel becomes pretty good. Now the argument on at the council level was, well, those schools travel anyways, right? I mean,
Correct.
when we say it's increasing travel, well, they're traveling for league games
Yeah.
farther than we would be asking them to travel in the regional, but it's still an added travel for some teams, which was the biggest downside to that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Go ahead, Mike.
yeah. What are your thoughts on the current high school transfer landscape? I know the answer to this question, but our listeners don't. Rules are in place to protect from undue influence and illegal recruiting of the top talent. But overall, even outside the league from a state level, we seem to be losing our top players every summer to prep schools. Um, a lot of that, I'm sure, has to do with some sort of trickle down to NIL and pay to play, that type of thing. Do you think that ever comes down? I know it's been talked about in the state legislature, but that NIL comes into play in the state of Michigan.
It was close. There's 34 states that allow it, and we do lose some kids each year to states that might provide them a little bit of financial aid um, to come and play for them. Um, and it was very close. There was a bill. The MHSA asked if they could help write the bill because they thought it was going to pass. So the rep council was able to approve some wording for the bill that if it did pass, it would help us a little bit as far as monitoring it. Um, and then the House switched, right? Now we have a split House. So that bill went off, it died, and it hasn't come back. It probably won't until one side or the other um, is in control
Majority, yeah.
Can you
of the
believe we're
majority.
talking politics on this podcast,
Yeah,
Mike?
Yeah, we're back to talking politics.
yeah.
Religion and
But
politics.
but the good thing, I mean, Indiana this year went to one free transfer. You can transfer anywhere and be immediately eligible one time. Less than 1 month into the school year, there's a proposal to make it 2. They're already having problems where kids they don't like where they transferred to, so they want to go somewhere else now. So they're already talking about allowing 2 transfers. And you can see the college landscape, what's happened is nobody likes it. The college coaches will
Yeah.
do it because they have to do it. But, when you combine NIL and unlimited transfers and you watch a broadcast and they're talking about what schools the kid played for last year and the year before and the year before. And that really isn't what educational athletics is meant to be.
Yeah, it's interesting because we had Greg Campy on a while ago, and he brought up that this is the wealthiest payroll of a team he's ever had. That they went all in on the fundraising and everything with that. Doesn't love the rules the way they are, but in order to be competitive, you have to
You got to
You
play
gotta
with
go
it.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The University of Toledo, they took a kid out of UAD 2 years ago. Good player.
Sonny.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And his sophomore year, he had a great year. Great year. Now he's going to go SEC somewhere. I don't know if he ended up going to Alabama, but he went somewhere in the SEC. Toledo will now market to incoming freshmen that come here for a year or two. You'll get a better deal. Here's
Yeah.
what we can give you now, but you'll get a better deal because you can play here and you can excel here. And
Your
they're using
junior contract.
Yeah, it's a minor
they're
league
using that
contract,
as a
basically.
practice.
Yeah.
And as a basketball fan, the Cinderella's done, right? You're not going to see that anymore. You're not going to see teams that have no business in their history being in the NCAA Final Four get there because they got seniors who have worked and got there. You just won't see it because those kids will leave where they can get more money.
Yeah.
If it stays. There's a lot of talk already about now the transfer portal at the NCAA level. They're going to reduce it. There's talk about reducing it from January 2nd to January 12th. That's it. And all the coaches are up in arms about that. And so they're trying to they're trying to right a wrong there. And I don't know that they can.
Yeah, everybody we've talked to, college coaches that we've had on, are like, we just need some guardrails on this thing. Like, it's a free for all right now. There's no oversight on it whatsoever. My concern, Vic, would be at the high school level, and I'm sure you would share this, is that it's going to be some guys that abuse the system, that get the money, that would illegally recruit the top talent to a small portion of the schools.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I don't think it's a good fit.
Because I don't think anybody's
honestly,
coming
I
to
wish
Cardinal Mooney and Marine City for Jimmy's Oil Change sponsorship.
Yeah. I really wish that some coaches, basketball in particular, high school basketball coaches in the Detroit area, would like to do away with transfers, and they don't. They think if you're doing something wrong and I want to turn you in, I'm the one at fault for turning you in. When really, if you're doing something wrong, everybody should
Return
return
you.
you.
Yeah.
Let me ask the both of you, I guess, to clear it up, because I get confused. What is the current state transfer rule?
I'll let
What
Vicky
currently-
answer.
Is it
Yeah.
currently? You're in BCAM, Mike, and you're at the state level.
Yeah.
What is?
Currently, there's 15 exceptions. The most notable exception is a full and complete move. If a family makes a full and complete move from one public school district to another, they're eligible at that new public school district area or not
Immediately?
public school area.
Immediately.
Immediately.
Mid-season, say football or basketball.
Whenever-
Immediately.
If it's a
Yep.
full and complete move.
Correct. Yep.
If it's not, if the kid just transfers from one school to another without meeting any exception, then
Yeah, what is
he's
that?
ineligible to play a sport that he played last school year. So a football, basketball, baseball player transfers to Cardinal Mooney without
He
moving.
can bowl.
He can play. He can run cross country. He can do anything, but he can't play football, basketball, and baseball
For the whole next year.
Correct. Yeah, unlike
Now,
the previous
that
rule,
said-
which had semesters attached.
Right.
Yeah, it
That's
used
where
to
I
be
get
a semester.
confused. Okay.
And the semester thing became inequitable because fall
basketball
sport
essentially was the only one getting
Yeah.
screwed out of it.
right. You just
'Cause there's
leave it
both
January
semesters.
and you're eligible for fall sports, or you leave at the end of the year, you're eligible for spring sports. So,
So
but I
you
sit on the MHSA executive committee, which hears requests for waiver of these rules. And in August alone, we had 3 meetings all with more than 600 pages, 600 agenda pages for over 120 or so each meeting. 120 kids are asking to be eligible
Every
when they're
meeting.
not. When they don't meet any exception, they're not
Yeah.
eligible by any means. They got a reason why they should be eligible. And some are granted.
Yeah.
Some are granted.
Yeah.
But it's getting harder and harder
Yeah.
to keep kids in one school.
Well, keep fighting the fight. Thank you. I want to circle back to the Catholic League, and I want you to talk about your friend and I guess the guy that was running the Catholic League, Tom Rashid. If we could, as a young coach, I remember dealing with him a couple instances, and what a gentleman he was. We had a little issue with Mount Carmel back in the day, and he was always a gentleman to have to deal with for whatever reason. So he was brought you into the Catholic League and then was at the state level, and I think he was pretty instrumental, right, in your professional career. And what a kind and passionate man about high school sports.
I mean, you correctly said that I'm the longest serving director of the Catholic League. We've only had 7. I'm the 7th director of the Catholic League since 1926, but I'm the longest serving one. But Tom was the best director the Catholic League ever had. Not only in all the things he implemented, I mean, we pray before the game. We talk about that. That's because of Tom. Tom put that in and said, we're going to start saying the Our Father before every game. He just did so many unique things and innovative things. And at the same time, he became a real ambassador to the Catholic League for public schools. He had friends in every district in the state. As much as he wore his faith on his sleeve and loved the Catholic League, he bridged a big gap at that time between public and non-public, and that was probably his biggest strength. Then, of course, he takes the job in Lansing, and all the public schools think, he's favoring the Catholic schools. He doesn't come down hard on them.
Yeah.
He was he became equally hated by public and non-public.
When he got to the state.
That they didn't like, But no, he was quite a guy.
Yeah, he was very instrumental.
Never played a sport either.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Never played a sport. He was a student manager. Student manager at St. Alphonsus, and became a student manager at Eastern Michigan, and then started being an athletic director at Riverview Gaylord Sharp. It was his first step.
The original, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah. Jim, I thought you were going to say he helped you with an issue, and I thought it was going to be Dad standing up against the wall all the time yelling. He asked to have him removed. All right, Vic, final question, maybe the most important question of the night. So we had Mick McCabe on about a month ago, and on that episode, we had him on. We asked him to answer and settle the bet for us as to who the best coach in the McAndrews family is, and he refused to answer. Now, you've coached against Jim, who could never beat you. I just want to state for the record. You have seen me coaching. Obviously, my sister coached. Yeah. Obviously, my sister Susan is a coach. There are only 2 of us, if you want to narrow the field, that are in the Hall of Fame. But I'll let you decide.
Well, I will say this. There's a debate about Jordan and LeBron, right? Who's the greatest athlete of all time? And personally, I think Wilt Chamberlain is. So if you're going to ask me who the best athlete in the McAndrews family is, I'm going to say it was your dad.
Yeah.
He played on the only team that beat Overbrook when Wilt was in high school.
Yeah.
The only defeat he had in high school.
All right. He's Wilt, I'm Jordan,
yeah.
Jimmy's LeBron, and Susan's Caitlin Clark.
So,
we figured it out.
So as far as an athlete goes, I would pick your dad. As far as a coach
Good answer.
Geez, that's a tough one, but I got to be honest here. And as much as I hate to say this, I hope she does not watching either. But when your sister coached, her teams were very much the same every year. They didn't have a whole lot of talent. They had enough. They played hard. They played good defense. They were very disciplined offensively. She appeared to do a good job on the bench, handling things.
That's where she got me. Dang.
Yeah. Yeah. She's probably a pretty good bench coach. And I'm guessing she got a lot of that from Jim.
Thank you. Thank you.
But so I would probably pick Susie. I think she did a great job when she was coaching.
Man.
She did. She did.
There's a lot of editing I'm going to have to do here
Yeah,
before this
right,
goes out
right.
live. That
Yeah.
is for sure. Well, Vic, I want to take the opportunity to thank you for coming on with us. You know, your friendship to the McAndrews family, you know, I think it's well known in our family that your favorite McAndrews is Mrs. McAndrews. You know, she
It
gets the
is.
Catholic League passes to every game sent to her in the mail before any of us even
Yeah.
get our hands on them. But you have been a tremendous friend to the McAndrews family, a tremendous resource for me as a Catholic school administrator and coach, and all of us. We have a tremendous amount of respect for you and what you've done for the league and for us personally. So thanks for taking the time to share your story.
Thank
Yeah, it
you.
was great.
Really, really. Thank
Very
you.
good. You guys do a great job with this.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Vic. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.
Jim, opportunity to sit down with one of the true legends, not just in the Catholic League, but in high school sports in the state of Michigan, Vic Michaels.
Yeah, that was fun. A lot of running down memory lane with him and the history that we've all been around in this great league, this Catholic league that we've been around with.
Yeah,
for a
I
long
would
time.
guess my only regret is him answering that Susan was the best coach in the family.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So
Can you edit something?
I can. I will
Can
be
you edit?
editing
Yeah,
that.
okay,
Yeah, for
thank you.
sure,
Yeah.
because I don't want her head to go. But anything coming up for your McAndrews clan in the near future?
Just some CYO sports coming up. That's what we're busy doing
Awesome.
right now. It's that time of year.
I'm
Yeah,
going to
you
give a
guys?
shameless plug to Cardinal Mooney as the admissions director. Those of you looking for a outstanding faith-based Catholic education for your child, our open house is October 19th from 1 to 3. Feel free to come on out and check all the great things going on.
I can recommend
Yep.
it.
Check out all the great things going on at Jim and I's alma mater and my current employer. So for Jim McAndrews, my name is Mike McAndrews. We want to thank you for joining this episode of Two Shots in the Ball podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
We want to clean in the paint. We're going to call hand checking and body checking, and sportsmanship is an absolute must. Okay.
He lets it fly.